Hello everyone, I'm Michael. I'm going to be your host for today's session. We're looking at Sage Business Cloud Accounting. It's the start level of the software that we're looking at. I'll tell you more about the software levels as we get going. But as I say, it's the start level we're looking at in today's session. Session should last around about an hour. We're going to concentrate on those key areas that you're most likely to use or maybe have some queries about, or even just maybe the areas that you want to see a demonstration of. We're going to concentrate on those in this session today. Now, a little bit of housekeeping just before we get started with the demonstrations. So we're using GoToWebinar for our platform this morning. And if you have a microphone, which you don't need for these sessions, it will be muted automatically. So if you have any questions for me, you'll not be able to verbally ask them, but you will be able to type them into the questions panel. Questions panel you should see in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. If you can't currently see that one, just click the little icon on your toolbar on the right-hand side of your screen. It's the one that looks like the speech bubble containing the question mark, and then you'll be able to start typing your comments and your questions. So if you want to get involved and submit your questions, please do so. There is an option to switch to full screen mode as well. So when I'm sharing my screen, you may find it a little bit more beneficial. You'll be able to see things a little bit clearer if you do switch to full screen. After the session today as well, you will receive a follow-up email, which will include a couple of links. One will be to our registration page. So you can register for other webinars, you'll be able to watch recordings, and also there'll be a link included to Sage University. I'll tell you more about that one a little bit later on as well. Okay, let's see what we're covering in this session today though. So we're going to start with the very basics. How do you go about accessing Sage Business Cloud Accounting? So we'll show you the login process, give you a quick tour of the software, give you an idea of the help and support that's available to assist you as well. We're then going to run through this series of demonstrations, hopefully giving you that feel for the software. It's really simple to use. So even if you've never used accounting software before, you should be up and running very quickly with it. Some areas, such as invoicing your customers as an example, I always think if you've ever seen an invoice, you'd probably be able to enter one in the software. It is really, really intuitive. So we'll start with the basics, accessing it. We'll run through these series of demonstrations, and then towards the end, I'll explain more about the opportunities that you have to extend your knowledge with further learning. Okay, so if you want to get involved, keep your questions coming. I'll try and pick them up as we're running through, or maybe just point you in the right direction, if nothing else. Right, so let's get started. So I'm going to run through a series of demonstrations. I will be sharing my screen in the session today as well. I'll keep switching between sharing my screen and coming back to the slides just to break up the demonstration a little bit. Right, so the first area that we are going to look at is getting logged in, and we'll do a quick product tour as well. So I'll quickly share my desktop. Now you'll see I've just got my browser open at the moment. I'm on the main Sage website, so I'm just on sage.com. Now this is where you would come to find out more information about the products, the features that are available, pricing information, you name it, it'll be on there. There's contact options as well. Now specifically we're talking about Sage Business Cloud Accounting today, which would be classed as being a small business product. So we go into that area and you'll see there's different offers available as well. Currently, if you're attending the live session today, as of today, there is a 2-month free trial available to you. So do take advantage of that one if you want to find out more. There's contact options here in the bottom right-hand corner as well. It's also where we'll find the login option that we'll choose in just a second. And it's worth mentioning just before I do log in that Sage Business Cloud Accounting is what you would term native cloud. So it's fully accessed online, and that means there's nothing for you to download, nothing for you to install. And that means you can just about work from any device where you've got that internet connection. Also, it means that, if let's say you've got an office where you're based, you can access your accounts, and then maybe later on in the same day, you might be working from home on a different device. Again, you're just accessing it all online. So you've always got access to your latest data. Now, if I click the login option in the top right-hand corner, it's going to bring up this panel, and we just choose Sage Business Cloud. So I'll give it a click. It's then going to prompt me to log in. So obviously your log on is something that you will set up as part of the registration process. So enter your details, click login. That's going to take you into Sage Business Cloud Accounting. Again, specifically, it's the start level that we're looking at this morning. And then you're going to be presented with the summary page. So that's just logged in at that point. So the summary page is a bit of a, I suppose, a bit of a dashboard view. So it'll pull out key areas of your accounts. So money coming in for the period that you've got selected, money going out, overall balance. You can see invoices and what sort of stage they're at. Customers that have outstanding invoices. Customers with overdue invoices. And then if you come a little bit further down, you've got your various bank records. So you've got panels for the various bank records that you've got set up. Now, when I mentioned period as well, you can toggle between the current year and the current month, and that will obviously recalculate the figures accordingly as well. Now, summary is on the toolbar at the top, and you'll see there's really just the one toolbar, so really easy to find your way around the software. As I say, very intuitive, and hopefully that will come across in the demonstrations that we see today. So I'm hoping you get a good feel for it. Now, there is loads of help as well. So a lot is very intuitive. There's loads of help and support available for you as well. Help can be accessed in one of two ways, either via the help option, top right-hand corner here, or if you're working on a specific page, next to the title of that page that you're on, you've got this little sort of question mark icon, and that takes you to the help relating to whatever it is that you're looking at. So if you're working in the software and you just want more information about what's being displayed, certain report that you're viewing, how you go about entering a certain transaction or complete a process such as generating your VAT return, if you're not sure about something, just head up to the top, click the little icon, and it should bring up the help and support that you need. So that will be in the main part of the screen. Obviously, you can navigate through the help down the options on the left. You've got the search option in the top right as well. Now, it's really comprehensive, the help and support. I would always encourage you, if you've got any queries, to try that in the first instance. Probably, I would guess, in the region of about 80 to 90% of the questions that I get asked about on the webinars, that's, well, I'll probably find an answer easily within the help center. I'm not going to sit here though and say it covers everything that you're likely to ask. It's bound to be occasions, and when you're searching it as well, there'll be occasions where maybe you can't find what you're after. Maybe you don't know what to search for in the first place. Maybe you find it, but you just don't understand it, or maybe your scenario is a little bit different. So you need a little bit of extra support. Now, if that is the case, and access to our support team is built into your subscription. So all you need to do, if you need to go beyond the online help that's available, is on any help page that you're viewing, just scroll down to the bottom. You've got this Get in Touch link, and it'll bring up this web page, the Get in Touch page. And all you need to do is fill in the 3 boxes. So I'm going to say I'm in the UK, I'm a customer, and that I need help with, in this case, Sage Business Cloud Accounting Start. Now that will then outline the options that you've got available for you to getting in touch with our support team. A number of different methods. I suppose just depends which one you prefer. You've got online chat, so you're typing in answers and you get a typed response as well. You've got telephone support. You prefer just picking up the phone to speak to someone. Telephone support's available 24/7, so you're never on your own with Business Cloud. If you need a little bit of help, doesn't matter whether that's during the day, during the evening, or even in the middle of the night. We are just a phone call away. And then you've got email. So if you don't need an immediate answer to your specific query, if you just want to email in your query, you can do that. You should get an answer within 24 hours as well. So a number of options. Let's head back to the main screen there. Now we'll be using we'll be using all of these options in the session this morning on the toolbar along the top here. So we'll be working through those options. For now though, I'm going to pop back to the slides And I just want to tell you one last thing just before we get stuck into the demonstrations themselves. So I mentioned earlier that there are a number of levels of the software. So we're looking at Start today. Now, Start is really aimed at those of you very small businesses generally, usually service-based, but doesn't, you don't have to be service-based, but generally that's what you'll find. You'll still be able to generate invoices, email them out, track what you owed. You've got bank reconciliation options, bank feed options as well. You can generate a VAT return and submit that online. So you may be looking at Sage Business Cloud Accounting because of maybe you've just become VAT registered, or maybe you've been registered for VAT for a while, but maybe MTD now applies to you. And therefore you've got to start using the likes of accounting software. So you might be looking at accounting software for the very first time. You will be up and running very quickly. One of the key things of Start though is that it does support one user only. So that's something to be aware of. So you'll have one log on for the software. If you need to set up additional logons, you can always upgrade through the range. So there's also higher levels of the software. There's standard and plus. Obviously, the higher up the range you go, the more benefits you gain. If you need more information about the different levels, pricing information, feature availability, that type of thing, then again, just head along to sage.com. It's got all the information on there that you need. And remember, there's contact information on there as well. Right, what we'll do, we will start running through some demonstrations. The first area that we're going to look at with you today is customizing your invoice template. Now, this is a really good example of how we've kept it simple. So you are provided with a couple of invoice templates, and it's really just a case of you choosing which one you want to use. Now, if you're not going to be invoicing and you just want to do the likes of, say, record daily takings, for instance, as money coming in or a few expenses here and there, then that's fine. You're going to probably be more interested in the banking and the cash book area, but we're going to come back to those a little bit later on in the demonstration. So really easy to configure your invoice template though, for those of you that are going to be invoicing. You can add your company logo and also up to 2 association logos. You can include your payment terms and conditions, and that will help to ensure that you get paid on time. And I've also, in the demonstration that I'm going to run through in a moment, I'm going to include the notes option. We always get asked about, for those of you that are going to be invoicing, how do I pop on my bank details? It means that your customers can then pay you online. Just makes it that bit easier. I suppose statistically as well, you'd probably find that you get paid a little bit quicker. There's less involvement from yourself then as well, so you're not having to handle checks or cash. Customers are just paying directly into your bank. So popping your bank details into the notes area will mean that that information is provided automatically on your invoices. Right, let's have a quick look at that area then. So I'll share my screen and we'll run through a bit of a demonstration. Right, so up to the toolbar at the top, we're going to go into the More menu and then choose Business Settings. Business Settings is an area that you're likely to be in and out of when you first start using the software. After that, maybe not so much. So once you're up and running a little bit. Now, what we're looking for is the Document Settings area, and we're going to go into Templates and Logos. So these are the 2 invoice templates that you're provided with. So you will need to choose one of them if you're going to be invoicing. You can always come in and toggle between them and switch to the other one if needed. If you want to see what they look like in a bit more detail, just highlight one and click Preview, bottom right. It'll preview it for you, and then you've got access to the zoom tools as well. So you can zoom in and see, right, if you were using that template and you were raising an invoice, when you email it to your customer or you print it out, you can see exactly what that's going to look like. So choose your template. If we come a little bit further down, you've got your logo options as well. I'll just quickly reset those. Now to add a logo really couldn't be easier. All you need to do is click the relevant panel and then just a case of browsing if you can remember where your logo is held, just a case of browsing through to wherever you've got your logo stored and then select it. So we'll just select it, click open, it'll pop it in there for you. Now when it inserts that, it needs to fit inside this sort of blue box, and you can drag that around if you need to reposition it slightly, so if it's just off center or something like that and you want to move it. You can also make it a little bit bigger or smaller as well using these options here. Adding an association logo, just as easy, you just click the panel, browse to the relevant folder, select your logo, click open, and that's it done. Again, you can drag this one round if you needed to reposition it. And again, you've got the resize tools as well. So that one's just a little bit too big. It just overlaps the edge of the blue box there. So I'm just going to knock it down a click so it fits within the blue box. And then again, if I wanted to see what everything looks like, I've got the preview option, but otherwise you're just going to click save. When you click save, you get a message pop up. Just OK that message. And then when you save anything or make any changes in Business Cloud, you'll get this green bar appear along the bottom just for a couple of seconds. It disappears just to let you know that the changes have been made. And that's it done. Now, while we're in the business settings area and talking about invoice templates, I'm just going to quickly pop into document preferences as well. If I click that option, and I want to come into here because we always get asked certain questions. One is to do with invoice numbering. Can you continue with your numbering sequence? So the answer to that one is yes, you can. Just a case of coming in and typing in the next invoice number that you want to use. So whether you're coming from other software, you've migrated across to Sage Business Cloud, you want to continue that numbering sequence. Maybe you've been generating your invoices in other software or handwriting them so far. Again, type in the next number you want to use. Or maybe you've never invoiced before, but you're about to start, and maybe you just don't want to start at invoice number 1. So again, type in the number that you want to use next. Coming a little bit further down, you've got your terms and conditions area. It's just a text box, this one. So whatever information you type into the terms and conditions area, it will pull that through onto your invoice. You'll still be able to amend that text, which we'll see in just a couple of minutes, but it will pull it through automatically. And you can see the notes area on the invoice tab, I've got my bank details entered. Now that notes area, most commonly used for bank details, but you could use it for anything. You might use it for more than one purpose as well, because as you can see, it tells us we can have up to 2,000 characters. So it's commonly, it might be used for highlighting new contact details to your customers, seasonal greetings you might put on there, details of special offers that you've got, new product lines, promoting services that you have available. So a little bit of self-promotion. Whatever you type in these boxes, it will automatically be pulled through onto your invoices. Now, if you've made any changes, just click save at the bottom. OK that message, and again we'll get that green bar appear along the bottom just for a couple of seconds, and that's it done. Right, again, any questions that you might have? I think I saw a few of them come through there, and I've just sort of, I knew I was just about to mention it, but a couple of you mentioned about the specifying your next invoice number, so hopefully you've seen that one. Right, anyway, we'll go back to the slides. We're going to quickly pick up on our next area, which is contacts. And when I refer to contacts, I'm talking about having records set up for your customers and suppliers. And by doing that, it means you'll have their information stored for easy access. Obviously, if you're much more of a retail type business where it's all maybe cash based and you just want to record daily takings, you're not going to set up contact records for that type of thing. So everyone that you run a shop, for instance, you're not going to ask everyone for their names and addresses. Very unlikely. But anyway, if you do have a need to use customer and supplier records, then you can easily store that information. You'll have easy access to it as well. You can add as many records as you want. There's no restriction on that one. And you've got two options for adding in new records. You can add them in manually. Not a difficult task, that one. You're just sitting there keying in things like names and addresses. Or you can import them. So if you do happen to have the information stored elsewhere, if you got that information, if you get into the likes of Excel, for instance, then you should be able to import that. And that can be a massive time saver, particularly when you're first setting up. Now, don't think, well, I've never really used accounting software before. It's going to be really complicated. I'll never do that one. I'll just set them up manually. Some people do choose to go down the manual route, but if you do have that information available, you're not sure what you're doing, get in touch with our support team. They'll be able to point you in the right direction or maybe try and guide you through that. Now, when we have a look at the, we'll have a look at a customer record, and in the customer record, you'll see there's an activity tab, and you'll see the transaction history on that activity tab. So we'll have a look at the record once we've set one up. Okay, let's switch back to my screen, and we'll quickly run through contacts. Now, contacts is available on the toolbar at the top. I just give it a click, and that will give me a list of the records that I've got set up so far. Now, to add a new customer or a new supplier, I did mention it was quite intuitive, this one. So you've got the relevant options in the upper right-hand corner there. So a new customer, new supplier. If you are going down the import route, you can see you've got drop-downs attached to those options. So easy to access the import options. Is information available in the online help that's available? But again, if you need that little bit of extra support, you know where we are. Let's say we wanted to add a new customer though, just click the option and it's going to ask us for the business name. So you're going to need to enter either the company name or if it's an individual, the person's name. It's then just a case of filling in as much of the other information as you can. So contact details, address information, payment details as well. So you've got a number of tabs running through the record here. So fill it in as best you can. If you haven't got all the information, don't worry, because you can add it in later on. You can always amend the information as well. But you would then just scroll down to the bottom, click save, and it will add that record into your list. Now, if we just click this A1 Design Services record that I've got set up, it'll take us into the record, just so you can see what one looks like. So this is a contact record, customer in this example. So we've got highlight boxes at the top. So we've got sort of credit position, sales summary, and then contact details. And if I scroll down, you'll see we've got a number of tabs running through the record as well. So the activity is always the first one where it's available, and it will list the relevant transactions. Now, it does default to the last 30 days, but you can narrow that down or extend that date range if needed. So it would list all the invoices, the credits, the receipts, payments, etc. It's going to list them all in there. So that's working with contacts. Easy enough to set them up, but probably there's that time element. Sometimes feel it's a little bit time consuming sometimes to set up names and addresses, for instance. Don't feel you have to set them all up in advance though. So, you know, if you've got 200 customers that you've dealt with over the last year or so, don't think, right, I need to key them all in before I start entering anything. Some people like to do that, but others will just enter the bare minimum, just so they can get up and running, and the others, they'll just enter as and when they need them. So if you've got a customer, for instance, that has no outstanding balance with you at the moment, do you actually need to key them in or not? They might not come back. It might not be a repeat customer. So it might have just been a one-off. So do you need to set them up or not? Easy enough to do it, just is it worth it or not? Right, okay, we're going to quickly pop back to the slides. Next area that we're going to look at is probably more of your day-to-day tasks. First area we're going to look at for that one is invoicing. So invoicing your customers in this instance. Now we're going to come on to banking in a few moments as well. We'll have a look at recording money coming in and going out. But let's start with invoicing your customers. Now it is very quick to produce an invoice, very quick to build them up. And I mentioned at the beginning, it's one of these areas that I think if you've seen an invoice, you'd probably be more than capable of entering one. So quick to build them. You can email them out or possibly even print them. The majority of invoices generated in Business Cloud, you tend to find that they are emailed out these days. VAT will be calculated automatically. Now, I'm sure you would fully expect that. It's not just a case of you key in a net amount and it calculates VAT automatically. Yes, it's going to do that. You would fully expect that. But there's other settings behind the scenes as well. You have different VAT rates, etc., other settings that will be applied automatically for you. Now, two of my favorite features, one is attaching files to your invoices, potentially a good time saver, that one, and also the timeline feature as well. Timeline means that you can see at a glance what sort of stage each invoice is at. Now, we've got a final bullet point on the slide there to do with CIS. Now, on the start level of the software, you can enable CIS, but you can only use CIS from a subcontractor perspective. So you can apply CIS deductions to your invoices, and also you can apply things like the domestic reverse charge legislation to your invoices. If you need to generate a CIS return and maybe submit that online, then you do need to be on one of the higher levels for that aspect of CIS. So you need to either be on standard or plus. But if you're registered for CIS and you're a subcontractor only, then that would be absolutely fine. You could do that on the start level of the software. Something that needs to be switched on, you'll find more information about it within the online help that's available. Right, let's have a look at the basics of entering invoices in the software. So back to my screen. We're just going to go back up to the top and we're going to go into the sales option on the toolbar. So into sales, we've got various tabs. So it'll list your invoices and your credits. And obviously it just sorts them there, but on the all tab at the moment, it'll show the invoices again for the last 30 days that I've entered. Again, I can extend that if I needed to, but I'm just going to click new invoice. Now, the first thing it's going to ask me for is who am I invoicing? So which customer is it I'm invoicing? Now, if I know the account reference or the name of the customer, I can just type that in. Or alternatively, if I know they're set up currently, then I can just select them from the list. You'll see at the bottom of that drop down, you've got an option to add a customer. So if it's a new customer or maybe you just haven't set them up yet, you can do it there and then. But just for speed, we'll choose an existing one. You'll see when I do that, it pulls through the likes of the address. Now it pulls through the address from the record, but quite a common theme, this one as well. When default information gets pulled through, you'll still be able to amend it. So if I needed to amend the address, maybe to a one-off address, for instance, I can amend that and update it. You've got your invoice date. You can change the invoice date, so you can either use the current date, or if you're playing catch up, maybe you just do your invoicing once a week or even once a fortnight, or maybe you prepare your invoices in advance. You can do that. You've also got the option for entering an order number as well. Now in the main body of the invoice, so this section here, you've only got one line there at the moment. Now as I start typing into the description, you'll see it gives me another blank line. If I was to type on that one, it gives me another blank line. It'll just go on indefinitely, that one. So you can add as much detail and break down your invoice as much as you need to. So if we click into the description, now I'm just going to do a very basic invoice today. I'll do sort of like parts and labour as an example. But I could enter a really detailed description if I wanted to. But I'm going to say parts, and I'm going to choose the category account. I'll come back to the category account a little bit later on. So I'll just leave that set to products, and I'm going to say I've charged, let's say, £100, and I've got my company flagged as being registered for VAT. So it's picked up the relevant VAT rate. Obviously, I can change that. It'll give me the appropriate VAT rates that are applicable to my region. So I'm just going to leave it set to standard. Obviously, it calculates VAT for me. But again, I could enter as much of a description against that item as I wanted. But we'll do, let's say, labour. And this time I'm going to choose the category account for services. And I'm going to say I charge £45 for labour. And also I'm going to charge VAT on that. So as you can see, as I keep typing on these lines, it starts giving me another line. So I'm sure you can you can see how quick and easy it is to build up your invoice at that point. Now, scrolling down, you'll see the totals are in the bottom right-hand corner. I think that's where you'd expect to see them. You got your notes and your terms and conditions. We looked at those earlier. I can click into the boxes, amend what's there, put something else in, or just remove it completely. But it is pulled through automatically. You don't want to have to be sat there typing in your bank details each and every time you generate an invoice. You've got the preview option, and I would always encourage you to give it a once over. Have a look at your invoice before you do anything else with it. So does it look all right? Obviously, it's using that template that we looked at earlier. It's got the company logo on there. It's got the bank details in there, so you can see what that's going to look like if you were to generate it. Customize will give you access to the two areas that we looked at the beginning of the session when we're talking about customizing our invoices. You've got this little paperclip icon. Now, what this enables you to do is upload files against your invoices. Now, what might you use this for? Well, it could be anything. So if we take an example, if I go into, and I'm just going to choose, we'll just choose a PDF file that maybe you want to attach. Now, it could be a range of files that you want to attach. You can attach as many files as you want. It could be, you might have a payment terms document. You might have special conditions of the sale that you want to send out. Warranty information, guarantee information. You might have a price list or a sales brochure that you want to send out. Again, details of new product ranges, special offers, services that you provide. You might have completed a job, you take a photograph. You might attach that photograph to the invoice. Now, for each file that you do upload, and you can upload multiple files, let me just choose another one. So for each file you do upload, you'll get a little slider. So do you want to make it visible to the customer or not? If you do, just move the slider across. If not, just leave it where it is. And you can mix and match those options as well. So one document you might want to send out, others you might not. So for instance, that if you're taking a photograph of a job, you've attached that to the invoice, you might think, well, I'm not going to send that out. I just want it for my personal reference. So if your customer comes back to you and queries something about a job, and maybe it's 6 months down the line, and you think, oh, which one was that? You can always access the invoice, click on the little link, view the image, and it might just help to jog your memory. So it's a good little option, that one. Now, you've got an option to save your invoice, and you've also got options from the drop down to save as a draft. So maybe you want to build up your invoice. If you're working on a job over a period of time, you might want to update the invoice with the materials that you've used, the time that you've spent, the services that you've provided, so you can keep coming in and updating it. You've also got an option to save and add a new one if you've got maybe more than one to enter. We're going to click Save Invoice. And it takes me into a copy of the saved invoice at that point. Now, this can also be accessed in a number of other ways as well. So that's the saved invoice. We'll come back to the screen in a moment. So if I was just, let's say I'm on my summary screen and I want to view that invoice again, I'm into sales, find it on the list. Now, if you were paying attention when we were talking about customizing our invoice, you would have noticed that I did change that invoice number. So it's picked up that next invoice number that I specified. If I want to view that, just give it a click. It takes me back to that screen that we were just looking at a moment ago. So on the saved invoice anyway, we've got all the detail that was added at the time, including the terms and conditions and the bank details, etc. You can see the two items that I added. You've got your timeline in the top corner here, so we can see what stage that invoice is at, so it tracks it as it progresses through that process. You can come into here to record payments against the invoice, either in full or maybe a part payment. And then if we come a little bit further down, you've got what I refer to as the actions panel. So you can email it out, you can print it, you can amend it, you can copy it, maybe essentially duplicate it. Maybe customer wants to place a repeat order, for instance. You can generate a credit note on the back of it. And if it is 6 months down the line and you want to view that photograph that you did attach to the invoice, you just click the little link. It'll list the files that you did attach, and then you would just click the relevant image, and obviously up it pops. Now let's say I want to email that out to this customer. So I just click email. Nice and simple, because that sort of email window, it's automatically filled in for me. So all I would need to do is click send. Now I can amend that if required. So if I want to put something else in the subject line or the message line, for instance, I might want to put my name in. I might want to maybe format it a little bit different as well. But other than that, it's pre-populated for me, and I just click send. It tells me it's been sent, and you can see it's updated the sort of the timeline at the top here. So really easy to build your invoices and enter them into the software. Right, we're going to move on. We're going to go back to the slides, and we're next going to pick up on, well, going to kill two birds with one stone here. So working on, looking at two areas. And the reason for that, we're going to look at banking and cash book, but the reason for that is that they are very similar. It's really the information is presented to you in a slightly different way. So again, similar to invoicing, this is more of your day-to-day tasks once you're up and running. So very easy to record your transactions, so money coming in and going out. One thing that you might not have thought of yet, particularly if you've never really used any accounting software before, and all accounting software will have a similar sort of thing, is that you will need to categorize your transactions. Easy enough to say, right, we spent £100, but what is that money, what does it relate to? So you do need to categorize it. And that's, I would say, probably when you first start using any accounting software, if anything, that's probably going to be one of the sticking points. Now, you will be up and running very quickly with categories, and we'll have a look at them in a moment and explain a bit more about them. Now, you can set up additional bank records. By default, you will have two. You'll have a bank account and a cash account, but if you've got multiple cash accounts, or you've got credit cards, deposit accounts, things like that, you can set them all up. You've got a reconciliation option as well. So again, step-by-step guides available within the online help if you needed it. It's worth noting as well, and we'll see a little demonstration of this a little bit later on, that transactions can be entered via the mobile app. And I'm going to tell you more about the mobile app a little bit later on. So when you're out and about, it means that you can enter your transactions directly into your accounts there and then. But let's have a look at the banking and the cash book areas first of all, just to set the scene a little bit. The both options are available via the toolbar at the top. You've got cash book and banking. I'm going to start with banking. Now in banking, your bank records that you've got set up, they're going to be presented to you as panels. So I've got a number of bank records set up here. If you did need to set up additional ones, it's just new and then bank account, fill in the details, save it, and it would add another panel to your list. Now, if we go into a bank record, so we'll just click this one called bank account, you can see what one looks like. Scrolling down, it would show us, well, the activity. Now, one thing to watch out for when you're viewing the activity within the bank records is that it defaults to the current month. So if you've just ticked on to the new month, rather than it show you the last 30 days, it shows you the current month. So sometimes you think, oh, where's everything gone? Just need to extend your date range. So if I just extend my date range and we'll click search, and you can see it then lists the transactions. So these are the money coming in, going out. Nice and easy to follow through. Right, let's cancel out of that one. So that was the activity tab that we just looked at on that one. So showing you all of the transactions. Now, if we quickly pop into the cash book area, you can see it looks totally different. It's the same information, just presented to you in a slightly different way. Rather than you have the panels and you're having to go into it to view the activity, what you've now got is you've got tabs for each of your bank records. And basically, this shows the equivalent of those activity tabs from each of the bank records that you've got set up. So if I click that bank account one, it will list the bank transactions. Now it gives me a full date range this time, not just the current month. But again, we can amend the date range if needed. So same information, just presented in a slightly different way. Now, if you wanted to record transactions, it's just new entry, and I've got money in, money out. Got the same options available, plus an extra one if we go back to banking. So it's new, and then you've got money out, money in, but you've also got the bank transfer. Bank transfer is used if you need to move values between bank accounts. For instance, obviously it's showing I've got £1,900 in cash sat there. So if I wanted to pay, let's say £1,500 of that into my bank, that I want to deposit that one, I would do a bank transfer, transferring £1,500 from cash account to the bank account. So easy to record that. Now let's say we wanted to record an expense. It's just new, and then we got an option called money out. And then it's just a case of filling in the detail. So let's record a basic expense. Now I'm not going to link this one to a supplier. I'm going to say let's say I've popped some diesel in the van as an example, and I just want to record that in my accounts. Very unlikely that you would set the garage up as a supplier, for instance. So we'll just leave it blank. But we're going to say, right, we've paid the money out of our bank account. The payment method, we're going to leave set to credit debit card. I'll just accept the date. Obviously, I can change that. We'll say fuel as the reference. Reference can be anything. That's really for your reference purposes. You might go down the route of you might have some sort of filing reference that you put on there. You maybe write it on your receipt. It's quite common to sort of write the date on, followed by some sort of reference number. It means you've got that cross-reference then, should you need it. So I'll just pop in a basic reference. I'll say I've spent, what should we say today, £60. We'll say it was £60 spot on. Or should I be really picky and say I didn't quite get it on £60, so we'll do £60 and a penny. Right, we then come down to the category. So this is where you need to categorize your transaction. And you'll hear a few different descriptions for your categories. You'll hear the term ledger account, category account, nominal code, nominal ledger account, general ledger account. There's a few different descriptions, but essentially all meaning the same thing. So this is where we need to categorize it. Now, there is a big list of categories that you can choose from, over 100 set up by default. So it can feel a little bit overwhelming if you've never used this type of thing before, but trust me on this one, you'll pick some of these up very, very quickly. Now, it's not the end of the world if you specify the wrong one, because you can always go in and change it later on. Now, what you'll probably find is when you first start using the software, you'll click on the drop down and you'll be scrolling up and down trying to find the right one. But trust me, the ones that you commonly use, you're probably gonna start. You'll just know them. You'll pick that up quite quickly. Probably sat there sometimes and think, oh, what's the code for that one? And your fingers just type it in. I didn't even know I knew that one. But you can type in the number. You can select it from the drop down, or the other thing you can do is start typing in the description if you know what that category is called. So let's say this expense related to bank charges. As I start typing, you'll see it narrows the list down. Let's say I bought some stationery. Again, as I start typing, it narrows it down. But I'm going to say this one relates to fuel. And again, narrows it down. I'll select the appropriate category accounts, and we'll just say diesel for van. Again, enter as much detail as you want. Now you can see in this instance that the £60 and a penny that I typed as the total amount of the expense, it's brought that down to the item line value. If I need to break down the sort of expense against maybe two different categories, or maybe part of it was charged at the standard rate and part was classed as being exempt of VAT, for instance, you can do that. Just a case of amending the line value. So let's say £50 was for diesel, and then maybe £10 and a penny was for, let's say we picked up some stationery at the same time. So we can break the expense down as much as we need to. You can do it against as many different lines as you want as well. But just keeping it nice and simple. We've specified the category, we've popped in some details. I'm just going to do the one line. You can see it's worked out the net and the VAT for me automatically. I can amend that, and I can also amend the VAT rate as well if needed. Other than that, I can click save, and that's the expense recorded in my accounts. Now, if it was daily takings that you want to record, it's just, again, either from within the cash book or the banking area, new entry, and it's then money in. And it's pretty much similar. So you generally use this option where you haven't invoiced your customer, but you can still link it to a customer if required. So again, it might just be daily takings. So you might be saying, right, I want to record some daily takings against my cash account, for instance. Pop in the method, the date, reference, daily takings, the amount that you've taken, and then it would just be a case of categorizing it accordingly, popping in some detail, the values, etc. And again, you could break it down if you are VAT registered, maybe some of your items or services that you provide are classed as being standard rated, some classes exempt, some classed as zero rated. Again, you would just need to break that down. And again, other than that, you would just save it, and that would be it done. Now, if you've made a mistake, I'll just quickly cover this one for you. If I go into that bank account, just as an example, and I find the transaction that I've literally just entered. So there's the transaction there. Now, if I wanted to find out more detail about that transaction, or maybe I spot a typo or something along those lines, I can click the transaction and it'll take me back into that entry screen. Maybe it should have been dated a couple of days on a different date. So I can easily do that, just save the changes. Again, maybe the wrong category account I've put it against. I can amend that as well. So break it down as much as you need to. Right, okay. So that's banking and cashbook. What I'm also going to do is just quickly go back to the slides, and I want to quickly tell you just a little bit about bank feeds and rules. Now, bank feeds, I'm not going to demonstrate this one live today, but we do have, occasionally we do run an advanced session, which we do cover bank feeds in that one. So if you want to see this one in action, please get yourself signed up for one of those, or when you get your follow-up email, on the registration page, you'll be able to watch a recording of the session. Or simply head along to sage.co.uk/webinars, you'll be able to access the registration page from there. Now, you will find loads of information about bank feeds as well within the online help, but putting it in very, very simple terms, a bank feed is a way of setting up a link essentially between your bank account and your accounting software. Now, most of the well-known banks will have a bank feed that you can link to. Not all banks are supported, but the vast majority are. Now, you set up that link, and basically rather than you maybe manually updating your accounts, so a bit like that diesel expense as we saw a moment ago, rather than you do that, what you can do with a bank feed is when that transaction hits your bank account, so when it appears on your statement, if you've got a bank feed set up, it would download that information. And all you would do is you would see it and say, right, well, yes, it's got the right detail, pop that in my accounts. Or maybe you need to amend the detail, put it to a different category account, or maybe change the details, something along those lines. So And it's a much quicker way of getting your transactions into your accounts. Now, setting up the integration is quick, it's simple. There is a wizard that would guide you through that process. But again, if you want a more sort of detailed information about setting up, processing your transactions via a bank feed, setting up rules as well, then you'll find it all in the online help. The rules option, I think initially when you find out about rules, I think you'll think about things like direct debits and standing orders, so those regular transactions. Now, what rules do, as transactions download, if you've got rules set up, it will sort of look at your transactions and see if it recognizes any. If it does, you can put some instructions in place so it knows what to do with that transaction. So like your telephone bill, for instance, utility bill, when that appears on your bank statement, it downloads the transaction via the bank feed, and the rules kick in and says, all right, there's your direct debit for your energy payment. Right, I'm going to enter that into the accounts. I know what information to use. So it's really, it can be a big time saver, the bank feeds option. If you want to see it in action, then check out our advanced webinar. Now, quickly picking up on reports. So I'm not going to go in depth into reports. So you might be pleased to hear that one. So I'm not going to go through and say, right, this is a profit and loss, and this is what it shows, and this is how it calculates. There's loads of reports in there, so do check them out. But as you would expect with, I suppose, any accounting software, you will have a suite of reports available. And it should include a profit and loss, a balance sheet, and a trial balance. And obviously Business Cloud, no different. You've got those available to you. You can easily get from the information that calculates. So when it shows you the values, you can click on them and get down to transaction level. But probably the best bit of advice I can give you in relation to reports is have a go of them. See what's available. Can you get the information that you need? Do you understand the information on the reports? But have a go. Let me just quickly cover it. So it's almost like just a try and point you in the right direction. So back to my desktop. Reports is available from the menu bar along the top there. So they're all held in one area. So if you just click reports, it will give you a list of all of them that are available. You've got panels for each of the reports. So you've got the profit loss, balance sheet, trial balance, audit trail. Audit trail being a list of your transactions. You might want a list of transactions that were, let's say, entered in a certain period. You can do that. Find the report you're after, give it a click. It'll automatically generate the report for you. Now you'll then be able to amend the criteria at the top, and that will vary depending what report you're running. So if I wanted to change period, for instance, let's say this financial year, any amends at the top, click calculate, it'll regenerate your figures for you. Now, if you've been running reports already and you've been maybe looking for a print option, people still love to print reports, but you'll not see one directly in this screen. What you would need to do is export your report. So run your report, and then on the export menu, you've got an option for PDF. CSV, by the way, is used if you want to transfer the information to the likes of Excel, for instance. PDF though, you give that option a click, it'll preview your reports, and this is where you'll find two useful options, top right. One is to download a copy of the report. Maybe you want to save it to your PC, for instance, and it's also where you'll find the print option. So if you've been hunting around looking for that print button, that's where you'll find it. Run your report, click export, output to PDF, and then you've got that print option, top right. But again, I can't stress that one enough. Have a go over the reports, run through them. You can't do any harm by running reports, so have a go of them and see what's there. If you're not sure, check the information in the online help or get in touch with our support team. Right, still two quick areas left to demonstrate this today for you. Next one is adding your accountant. Now there is a requirement on this one if you want to add your accountant so that they can access your accounts, is that your accountant must be using the Sage Business Cloud Partner Edition. If they are, then you can add them so that they can access your accounts from there. PC. It might just save them traveling back and forward. So maybe if your accountant or your bookkeeper normally comes to visit you, maybe once a month, or once a quarter, every 6 months, or even just once a year to do things like your year end, for instance, or generate VAT returns. If you add them, it means that they can do that from their PC. Now, it's very easy to add them. The software will send out an invitation email to them, and everyone that accesses it, no matter what device you're running it from either, everyone will have real-time data access. Okay, let's just quickly show you what you would do for this area. But again, remember your accountant. To be able to add your accountant, you're going to need their email address from them, but they need to be using the partner edition. If they're not using the partner edition, this option will not work. So we'll check with them first. Assuming you are using the partner edition and you've got their email address, you just need to, from your software, where you've got your company name, so mine's called DigiDemos, just hover over that one and then choose the option Manage Business Account. Now, I mentioned it was quite intuitive. Once you're in here, you've got an option on the left, Invite Accountant. All you do at that point, pop in their email address, click Send Invite, and as far as you're concerned, that's it done. An email will be sent out to your accountant or bookkeeper, just inviting them to sort of click the link to add your company into their software. So nice and easy. Right, let's quickly pop back to the slide. And the last area that we're going to demo for you today is the mobile app. Now, the mobile app is included in your subscription. So it's available to download via the App Store and also Google Play, depending whether you're Apple-based or Android. If you're looking for it, then just search for Sage Accounting and it should find it. And obviously when you first go into it, it's going to prompt you to log in, and that would just be your normal log on that you set up when you sort of set up your subscription. Now, the mobile app means that you've got access to your accounts on the go. All your information is available via your mobile phone, via the app. It means that you can access your information when you need it. But you can also enter transactions as well, and this is one of the big advantages of this one. So you're no longer on site with a customer and saying, right, well, I'll get that typed up when I get back to my PC tonight, and I'll get a copy emailed out to you or anything like that. You're not handwriting it and then entering it manually into your accounts later on. You're just doing it at the same time. So you just enter the invoice there and then, and you can email it there and then as well. Expenses, a bit like that, petrol expense, or the diesel expense, I should say, that we showed you how to enter that. Do it via the mobile app. You can even take a photograph of the receipt there and then it'll attach it to the transaction. I'm going to play a little video for you, just last a couple of minutes, and then I'll come back to you live. This will give you a little bit of an idea of what the mobile app looks like and how it works.
In this video, we're going to show you how to enter an expense via the mobile app. So let's get started. We'll pop into accounting and we're going to tap the plus, and then we're going to choose to create an other payment. We'll enter the amount. So in our case, it's 43.26. We'll ignore the supplier. Adding a supplier is optional. We'll pop in some detail. So we'll just say it was for petrol. We've got the amount entered. We then choose our ledger account. So we can either scroll through the list, or if we click into the search box, just start typing, it finds it. The VAT rate is already specified as that's linked to the ledger account that we've selected, but we can change that if required. The VAT is automatically being calculated for us. We can split the invoice if required, or the receipt in this instance, so we can add additional lines. So there's more than one line to the receipt in this case, the expense. We can just click add line and enter more details. We'll just cancel that. We can scroll down, pop in a reference. So again, let's just keep it nice and simple. Choose petrol. Enter the date. Obviously it picks up today's date, but we can change that if required. We then choose the account that the money was paid out of. So in this case, we'll choose our current account. And then we'll choose our payment method, in this case, debit card. We then get an option to add attachment. So we can add files or add an image. Now, if we've got the receipt in front of us, we tap add image, and then we can either take a photo there and then, or if we've already taken that photo and maybe just saved it to our photo library on our phone, we just tap photo library and then basically select the image. It'll attach it to the transaction. We can add additional attachments if you're required. We'll just cancel out of that one. Other than that, we tap save. And that's it done. That's how easy it is to record an expense via the mobile app.
Okay, so hopefully that's given you just a little bit of an insight into the mobile app, what it looks like, and again, how easy it is to actually use that. Right, coming back to the slides, I just want to quickly mention, just to wrap, before we wrap up, a little bit about further learning. So we mentioned online help quite a bit today, really comprehensive, so please do use that to help develop your knowledge and get support with the software. Beyond that, if you need to speak to someone, get in touch with our support team. Remember, it's easy to do that. Into any help page, scroll down the bottom, click the get in touch link, fill in the 3 boxes, and it'll outline the options that you've got available to you. Sage University is where we host all of our e-learning content, so little bite-sized learning training, certification options are in there as well. If you're attending the live session today, you will receive a follow-up email around about an hour's time, and that will include a link on that follow-up email so that you can go and use those free training courses. Otherwise, just head along to sageu.com. So that's our company name, Sage, followed by U for University, sageu.com. And you'll have access to it then. You will not need to set yourself up with a log on, but then you can start learning more about your software. So whether you want to learn more about sort of setting up your software, day-to-day tasks, such as entering sort of payments, receipts, completing tasks such as generating your VAT return, etc., you'll find it all in there. So do take advantage of that one. You just need to set yourself up with a login. Webinars, if it's your first one with us, if you're attending the live one today, I hope you've enjoyed it. There will be a survey pop-up as you leave the live session today. If you've got any thoughts that you'd like to share with us, if you can take a minute to complete that, it'd be greatly appreciated. And that brings us to the end of the session. If anyone's got any additional questions, please pop them into the questions panel for me. I'll try and pick those up. If you think of anything after you leave the live session today, then please, if you're using the software, get in touch with our support team or use the online help. They'll be able to help wherever needed. But if you're about to leave, many thanks for coming along. I hope you have enjoyed it and you found it useful. Bit of a whirlwind tour, but hopefully it's given you a good idea of how easy it is to use the software and the features available to you. No outstanding questions at this stage, so I'll just thank you for your time. Take care, stay safe, and hopefully we'll see you on some future webinars. Many thanks.